What's going on, Geek Pit? Welcome to another episode of Geek's Top 10, where we count down your favorites in pop culture, favorite food, anything you guys can think of. That's our top 10s right there. But I'm not doing these top 10s alone. I got a special guest with me tonight, and he's a ring announcer. His name is Mike Falvo. What's going on?
What is good, my man? How are you? It's good to be back on the program.
It's been a while, man.
It has been a while.
A lot of stuff has happened since the last time you were here.
That is
I actually
true.
moved to sunny old Florida over here. Yeah,
Oh, very nice. How do you like it?
it's very different. It's like there's a lot of memes I've been putting on Instagram saying that it's kind of like Jurassic Park. You never you never know what you're gonna walk outside and see in the morning. You know what I mean?
That
And
is definitely true. I lived in Florida for 6 months. I did an internship with Walt Disney World back in the day when I was in college, and I can confirm that is true because Florida reminds me of Australia, where like any piece of wildlife down there is just there to kill you.
Exactly, anything. It's like today I saw a snake and I'm like, when do I see snakes in New York? You know what I mean?
Exactly.
It's like the other day I saw frogs, I saw rabbits. Um, Sometimes I'll see gators. Now the newest thing that we have monkeys now.
Oh, I heard about that.
It's like the wildest thing. They escaped from like Georgia or something.
Yeah, it was a medical facility or something, like a medical testing facility or something like that.
Yeah, it's the wildest thing what's going on, man. It's just something. It's like you'll never know what escapes his mind right now in Florida right now because
Yeah,
it's a crazy world out there. You know what I
it
mean?
is. It definitely is.
All right, but yeah, I invited you on. We're gonna to do Geeks Top 10 for top 10 places we wish we still had.
True.
Because there are a lot of places that I also want to bring this up because there's just so much nostalgia places that people say, I remember that place. You know what I mean? So I think this is going to be a great topic.
I think so too.
Uh-huh. So if you're ready to start, we can start with number 10.
Sure. All right, number 10 for me. Now, mind you, I'm going to preface all of this by saying I'm a Gen Xer. I was a kid of the 80s, teenager in the 90s, and I'm here now in 2024. So anybody listening, if you're kind of looking at this funny, you know why. Number 10 is Chuck E. Cheese. Now,
oh my God.
now I understand Chuck E. Cheese is still around, it's still there. We actually brought our daughter to Chuck E. Cheese last year for her birthday, and I walked in and it was not the same. I want to go back to the Chuck E. Cheese where Chucky doesn't look like a gym teacher. He looks like he could help you hind a body and probably has a couple felonies under his belt too. I distinctly remember when I was a kid, Chuck E. Cheese used to walk around with a cigar. Back when that was okay. He used to walk around with a cigar. They used to have the animatronics, the one room with all the animatronic animals, which, by the way, was the inspiration for Five Nights at Freddy's. But the one thing that I always remember from Chuck E. Cheese, you may remember this, your listeners may remember this, they may not. They used to have, it was like a 7-foot tall animatronic lion dressed like Elvis. This was the stuff of nightmares to like a 6 and 7-year-old kid, because that thing would go off and sing Hound Dog on its own. So when you're eating pizza and all of a sudden a 7-foot tall lion dressed like Elvis wakes up, yeah, that does something to a child.
To be honest, a little confession, I was a little creeped out by Chucky when I was a little bit younger. I'm like, do we really have to go to this place to see these creepy animatronics? You know what I mean?
And then I always remember, my favorite was the giant ball pit. They used to have it was like 10 feet deep. You dive in, you weren't sure if you were coming out or not. It was just an amazing time to be alive. And then you went into the other room and they had all the video games. It was just awesome.
Yeah. That also reminds me that, did you hear about the new Chucky that they're doing, the new Chuck E. Cheese? They revamped it. They got rid of all the animatronics and
Oh,
everything.
yeah.
it's not the same anymore. It's like everything's like it's like computer generated Chuckier now. You
Yeah.
know?
We brought our daughter there last year for her birthday, and she wanted to go, and I knew it wasn't gonna be the same, but, it was what she wanted to do, and we were more than happy to bring her. But I agree, it was definitely a different vibe, different just everything was different, it didn't feel the same, and, again, it's probably just me grasping at nostalgia, but, it wasn't the same. I mean, she had a blast, and that was what was important. As long as
Yeah.
she had fun, I was happy.
Yeah. So, all right. Now, number 10 for me is going to be it's a pretty recent one. It's actually Circuit City.
Wow, Circuit City.
Circuit City. I remember looking at all the TVs and everything. They had a room. You go in, watch the TVs and everything. And I
Mhm.
remember this was the first time I actually saw the flat screen TVs. And it was like, wow, this is so different. This is gonna and now everybody has a flat screen TV. You know what I
Oh,
mean? Now
yeah.
they have the LED curve and everything.
Oh,
And
yeah.
I believe the downfall of Circuit City was they were actually ahead of its time a little bit with they had something called Divx. I don't know if you remember that.
Vaguely.
So Divx was like the new thing that they were gonna go with. It was kind of like you would have a disc, you buy the disc for like $1 or
Mhm.
$2, right?
Right.
And it's like a movie, right?
Mhm.
And then you don't own the movie. You have to like keep paying for it.
That what?
Yeah. So you don't own the movie, so you had to keep paying for it. So it's like it's pretty much like like today's version of on demand, but instead you had the disc.
So
So
it was like you bought the disc, but you rented what was on the disc?
yes.
That makes no sense at all.
It was like it made no sense, but I think a lot of people did not get the concept. But nowadays, um, you have digital on demand now, so it's like if you want to keep watching the movie, you pay $5. You know what I mean? So it's like
Right.
it's kind of the same thing. But anyway, the disc was like $1 or something like that. It was something cheap. So
Right.
I guess the reason behind it is because it was like a physical copy and they were losing money on that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
they had to make their money back somehow. And you would have to keep spending $5 or whatever. It was like I think Divx was ahead of its time, by the way.
Oh,
But
yeah.
but yeah, Circuit City, I think that was the way that was the downfall of them. And yeah, so Circuit City is going to be number 10 on the list, but I do really miss Circuit City a lot, because
Yeah.
that was the first time you actually went in a room and you got to hear the sound, like
Mhm.
the speaker systems and everything. And well, Best Buy has that now, so.
Yeah.
Mhm. Yeah, so
So,
that's number 10. Circuit City was my number
yep.
10, and we're going to go into number 9. So
Number 9 for me is Ponderosa Steakhouse.
I have not heard of Ponderosa
Are
Steakhouse.
you serious? Oh, man.
Yeah,
Ponderosa Ponderosa, I mean, it was a steakhouse, it was like a chain steakhouse kinda place. They had the best salad bar ever created. It was about the length of a football field,
mhm.
and you could go through and get whatever you wanted, your typical salad stuffs. My spot, though, was the little cubed hams. I used to get just fill a bowl full of that stuff. And I would just eat that by the spoonful. And meanwhile, my father's looking at me like I've got 3 heads, but I was living life, man. It was just an amazing place. Great, great time. The food was good. Well, I don't want to say good, but it was affordable. So sometimes affordable is better than good. Um, but it's just a part of my childhood that I remember, a place that I loved going to as a kid.
Yeah. Number 9 on my list is actually the First Instincts of Target. I don't know if you remember this store. It's called Calidor.
Oh, yes, I do. I lived in Utica, New York, and we didn't have a Caldor, but I always saw the advertisements for it. I can't even remember I think the closest one to us would have been Syracuse.
Mhm.
But I remember the commercials for Caldor.
I think Caldor was another one that was way ahead of its time because now you have Target and Walmart and stores like that. So
Right.
department stores that want to cram everything in there. It's like electronics, clothes, food, everything. So Caldor, I believe, was ahead of its time.
Right.
So that'll be my number 9 right there. So.
Mm-hmm.
Mhm. So number 8, we're flying through these.
We're flying, man.
Yeah, we'll fly.
For me, number 8 is arcades.
Arcades, yes, I remember that.
Not like a specific arcade, but just arcades in general. For the younger generation who may be listening, arcades were actually a building and or a room in a mall where you could go and play whatever video game you wanted. You walk in and they had a wall full of pinball machines. They had an air hockey table right in the middle. On the other side, they had all your stand-up video games, Pac-Man, Galaga, Centipede. I mean, Paperboy. Paperboy was my jam. So I mean, it was just a great place. But also, I mean, you didn't have to like go there and play any of the video games. You just go there with your friends, hang out. If one of your friends was lucky and mom slipped him a 20, you could steal a couple quarters from him and go pop them in whatever machine you wanted. But it was just a place where we could hang out, be kids, and really not have to worry about anything and be entertained. I mean, even if you weren't playing a game, you could watch one of your friends rack up a high score on Pac-Man, and it was great.
Yeah, I remember the old school arcades where there. I don't know. There was a place by me. It was called the Broadway Mall,
Mhm.
where it was in Long Island, New York, and um, they were so popular, and then they got rid of the arcade, and then they actually recently brought it back into a new place. It's called Round 21, I think it's called.
Okay.
Have you ever heard of that
I
place? Or
haven't. I
it's kind
haven't.
of like a Jillian's or a Dave and Buster's kind of deal.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so they have a bowling alley in there. They have a whole bunch of stuff. But yeah, so the round 21. But yeah, I remember arcades. I remember just going to like birthday parties and all that fun stuff when my parents would drop me off and stuff. But yeah,
Right.
arcades was so much fun back then, and I enjoyed them. So
After really quick side story, after I got out of the Air Force, I moved to Phoenix, Arizona, and I worked for a TV station out there. As I used to drive those big vans that had the giant satellite on top, the news truck,
yeah,
and
I
we
know
got to
those.
cover a story. They were holding, I can't remember like the official name for it, but it was basically a video game convention. And you walked into the convention center, and the bottom floor was all the like the vendors and all the different tech companies who are trying to sell their technology or their computers or whatever it was they were trying to sell. You go up to the second floor, and that's where the arcade started. So you walk in, and it was just a conference where you imagine like these. I mean, you've seen them, like the symposium type rooms,
Mhm.
full of the stand-up video games, full of pinball machines, full of all that stuff, and they were all free. They were all free. You just go in there, you hit start, and you just played. Then you go to the third floor, and they had one room dedicated to all the different consoles through, through the evolution of video games. But it was the way they did it was like you would sit down in front of an old school Atari, and they had an old school TV with beanbag chairs and just everything from that time. And then you move over to like the Nintendo, and it got more modern and more modern. My boss told me that if I didn't leave, I was going to be fired because I didn't want to leave. So, but yeah, it brought back all kinds of nostalgia, all kinds of stuff from my childhood, and that's what I loved.
I was going to ask you what your favorite games are, the arcade games, but that could be another Geeks Top 10 right there. You know what I mean?
Top 10 favorite arcade games.
I could bring it back and we could do that right there. You know that?
Book it.
Bucket for another episode right there. So, all right. My number 8 right there.
Hmm.
And I don't know if you remember this. It's actually Tower Records.
I remember Tower Records.
Tower Records, yes. So I used to be the one used to wait outside
Hmm.
for the tickets. Well, this was before online ticketing. You know what I mean? You used to wait
Right.
online at Tower Records just to get those tickets.
Yep.
Or whatever concert or sporting event you wanted to go to. That's where you would line up outside at Tower Records. But, man, that was something though. I remember we with a lot of different other people too. So
Right.
yeah.
I grew up in Utica, New York, and we didn't have a Tower. I mean, I had been to a couple Tower Records, but we didn't have one in Utica. We had a place called the Last Unicorn.
Mhm.
And it was your typical like small mom and pop record shop. But like you said, like if you wanted tickets to an event, you had to go to like the dingy room in the back and wait for the guy to come from the front into the back. And then he's all grumpy because he's got to get up from his chair and go get you your tickets to, go see Aerosmith or whoever you're going to see. I don't know why the hell I pulled Aerosmith out of the air, but here we are.
Anybody.
Yeah. But it was just, again, just part of what made those places special. But they also, one thing that I really loved about this place is they would have like a box full of pre-opened vinyl or CDs or whatever. If you wanted a specific album, you could go in there and they would have 3 or 4 songs preloaded and you could get a sample of what was on that album.
That's cool. I remember listening to that's another discussion right there though. But I remember listening to the headphones saying, I don't know if I like the CD. And you would sample the whole entire album right there.
Oh yeah. Mm-hmm.
And some people just spend all day there and just sample that album. Those are the days right there.
Yes, sir.
But yeah, we have a number 7 right there, right?
Mm-hmm. We're going into number 7. Number 7 for me are tourist traps. Not a specific one, but I mean just tourist traps in general. Again, a kid of the 80s, they were all over the place. And they were the little, like the little parks or whatever that had a theme to them. Not a theme park or an amusement park. I'll get to amusement parks in a minute, by the way. But like, I know here in the Capital Region, they used to have a place called Ghost Town, and it was an old Western kind of theme to it. And it's like, there was never an Old West here in New York State. So, it just made it that much more ridiculous, but it was so cheesy and so bad that it was awesome. And you could just spend all day in there and buy the little trinkets that would break 10 minutes after you bought them or in the car on the way home. And
oh my God.
Oh yeah.
I remember those tourist shops right there.
But it was the best time. The best tourist trap that I ever went to, and I've been there twice, is Tombstone, Arizona. And it is in my opinion, it is the epitome of a tourist trap, but it's so awesome at the same time, because you go through and you see, you learn about the history of Tombstone, Arizona, Wyatt Earp, the gunfight at the OK Corral. But everything in there is just so cheesy and so hokey and so bad. It's just such an awesome place to go.
Yeah, you ever go to Ripley's, believe it or not? You ever actually go? You actually went inside, or?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, it's like what, $40 to get in there, or $50 or something like that. Something ridiculous. I mean, it's not a bad tourist trap though, because you're actually going in there and you're actually seeing like the world's tallest man. You're seeing how big their feet were, everything. So it's not really a bad place to go. I mean, if you like cheesy stuff like that. I mean, I went to the one in New York City. I haven't been back to the other ones, but
right,
because I know there's tons of other Ripley's, believe it or not. Any touristy place like Disney or anything like that, they'll be there.
Oh yeah.
But yeah.
I always loved going to the places that just look so cheesy that you have to go see it. I remember when I lived in Texas, I went to San Antonio, and there's a part of the main road in San Antonio, not far from the Alamo. And like, they have like the cheese ball haunted house that's there. They have the Ripley's, they got Madame Tussauds and all that other stuff. And I was like, forget Madame Tussauds. I want to go into that awful looking haunted house. That's what I want to go see.
Exactly. Yeah. So number 7 for me actually is, we're gonna go back in time now. I don't know if you had this over there. We had Stephen Barry's.
Stephen Barry's. That was a clothing place, wasn't it?
It was a clothing place, but you could get anything you wanted, any clothing, for maybe like $5.
Oh yeah. I used to buy a bunch of like the graphic tees they used to
Yeah.
have
Mhm.
back before graphic tees really became a thing.
Before like Spencer's and Hot Topic and all
Oh yeah.
that, right? But yeah,
Hmm.
but Stephen Barry's, they used to have the funniest T-shirts for like what was it, $5? I think they might have raised the prices a little bit
Yeah.
because of inflation and everything, but they still kept their prices cheap because I remember their jackets and their pants were like $10 or something or $15. It was just something like this jacket would probably in like Macy's would be like $40 or something like that,
Yeah.
or $50. But they kept their prices reasonable cheap. I thought Stephen Barry's has to be on my list. I really do honestly miss that place, because you can't get
Right.
anything, any t-shirts like that. I mean, maybe you could get stuff at Primark for like
Hmm.
for a discount price, but man, I miss Stephen Barry's though. Those shirts were awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, but yeah, we're going number 6, right?
Number 6.
Number 6. What do you got?
I don't know if you remember them or if you had them down where you live, but in Utica, we used to have the Hostess Bakery Outlet.
We had the Entenmann's.
And you had Entenmann's?
Yeah.
Okay. So again, for anybody listening who has no clue what I'm talking about, you could go into
Oh,
this
but
place.
I do know Hostess. I know the Hostess outlet now. I
Yeah.
remember there was one right here near us.
Yeah. You could go into the store and you would purchase like Hostess products, Twinkies and the fruit pies and all this other stuff. But you could walk in with like $2 and walk out, and I'm not kidding, with a shopping cart full of this stuff. They had like, I mean, you could go in there and I mean, it was the kind of place you could get like day old bread, you know.
Yeah.
You get like day old bread, English muffins, stuff like that, but it was ridiculously cheap. During the summer, uh, we would go to go hang out at a friend's house, and you would bring $2 with you and be like, "Yep, we're going to Hostess. We're going to stock up." And you would walk out with an armful of like apple pies and cherry pies, a couple loaves of bread if that was your thing, and any other snacks that they had in there. Man, it was a kid's heaven.
Yeah, I remember a Hostess. I remember even the Entenmann's. We had the Entenmann's over here in Brentwood, over here at the Entenmann's factory. I think
Mm-hmm.
there was also one in Farmingdale as well.
Okay,
Yeah, so I remember the Entenmann's being. I think they moved up to Pennsylvania though.
right.
Yeah, Entenmann's, but that man, I miss Entenmann's. Being on Long Island.
I mean, we get the Entenmann's cake, the cakes and the fruit pies and whatever. We get them over here at the Hannaford, but I had never been to an Entenmann's in Long Island, but I can imagine it must have been so much better from like
Yeah,
the source.
definitely. The factories were here, and then they had to move them. I think they moved them to Pennsylvania. I forgot where they moved them to, but
Okay.
yeah. So moving along, we got number 6 for me. It's not around anymore. This is another recent one. Ruby Tuesdays.
Okay.
Ruby Tuesdays. I really enjoyed Ruby Tuesdays. I felt Ruby Tuesdays, they had such a great menu. The burgers were really, really good.
Oh yeah,
I
they
was
were.
so disappointed when the one across the street in Comac closed. So disappointed. I enjoyed Ruby Tuesdays. I mean, even though nobody was really in there. And they had a good salad. They had a good salad bar though.
They did. And funny thing, both of my brothers actually worked at Ruby Tuesdays. My older brother was a waiter there for, I don't know, a couple of years, maybe 2 or 3 years. And my younger brother worked in the kitchen. So I got the hookup on both ends. It was a beautiful time to be alive, I'll be honest, especially during Christmas time. Again, I'm from Utica, New York. So we had Sangertown Mall was the big mall in town. And we would always go there around Christmas time, and we would just hang out in Ruby Tuesdays and just watch people watch, you know. Granted, we spent most of the time making fun of people because that's what we did. But at the same time, we would get the hookup on snacks, or, if we wanted a Pepsi or a Coke or whatever, we always got the hookup. So yeah, it was just, again, another place from my childhood that I just love.
Yeah, not only that, I know I said this is a running joke of the podcast, but Ruby Tuesday was also ahead of its time because they were the first store not to have a waiter. Because when you would check out, you would check out through a little card thing,
Uh-huh.
and everyone's using that now.
Oh yeah.
Everyone, Fridays, Chili's,
Hmm.
all the convenient places are using that. So Ruby Tuesdays is another one that, and not only that, you could go and they'll play little games on there too.
Oh yeah. I
And
was at Chili's the other day with my daughter, and I went to pay my bill, and I said to the server, I says, or she gave us our bill, and she's like, all right, well, you just run your card through the thing. And I said, well, no, I've got cash. And she looked at me like,
with cash,
you have cash? And I said, well, yes, I have cash. It's a form of payment, correct? And she was like, oh no, just rarely anybody uses cash anymore. And so paid the bill, left her a really good tip. I mean, she was super awesome, so I left her a good tip. And it was just funny seeing her reaction, and then you realize how much times have changed.
not only that, it's also better to pay cash, because especially in tip form, because they really the waiters and waitresses, they really don't get paid. And
True.
to see somebody give them like that extra $5-10, you probably actually made their day.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
So that was number 6 for me. It was Ruby Tuesdays,
Yes, sir.
and we're up to the top 5. So
Top 5 for number 5 for me is probably the local amusement park. I think every larger town or city had one. It wasn't something the size. I'm not talking about like Great Escape or Six Flags. I'm talking about the one that had the dodgy Ferris wheel that looks like it has a couple safety violations waiting on it. The guy who looks like he's got a couple felonies along with Chuck E. Cheese. And it had a
the
different
carnival,
feel.
the crazy carnival is what you're trying to say. You know
Thank
what I
you.
mean?
Thank you. It had a different feel. It was, a lot smaller, and sure, you weren't sure if you were coming out of that place alive, but you didn't care because you were having fun. Um, one of my all-time favorite rides was called the Gravitron.
I've heard of the Gravitron.
Oh my God. This thing,
Is it still around?
some places still have it. Some places still have it, but this thing, my God, how many limbs that ride must have taken with it in its wake. For those of you who have never seen it, it looks like it's a giant diamond shaped ride.
It's a spaceship.
Right, it looks like a spaceship. And you get in and you lean against the wall, and this thing just spins. It spins so fast that the gravity, hence the name Gravitron, presses you against the wall. Now, if you were one of the cool kids, you were one of the guys that was able to like get on your feet and stand straight out, but it was spinning so fast that you were like this against the wall. And then you had to time it just right so you didn't fall and break your neck on the railing that was sitting right behind you. Some made it, some didn't. That was the beauty of the Gravitron.
Some places that like those local amusement parks are actually still around today in Long Island.
Mhm.
I don't know if you know that. Like, I don't know if you know the movie Adventureland with Ryan Reynolds.
Oh yeah.
So that's an actual theme park in Long Island.
Oh my God. I have to find this place if it's still around.
It is still around. It is still around. So basically, like, the inspiration was the writer from Adventureland, the movie,
Mhm.
actually used to work at the one in Farmingdale.
Oh, that's awesome.
And so he wrote about his experience of working at this place, and now it's a major motion picture with Ryan Reynolds.
Have you seen the documentary? I want to say it's on Netflix. I think it's on Netflix. It's called Class Action Park.
Yes,
Have you seen it?
yes, I have.
Oh my
I
God.
think it was originally an HBO show.
Oh,
And then the
HBO,
movie-
that's what it was.
and it was Class Action Park, and these were all like, this was like a theme park that went against every single rule that you could think of, and people getting hurt. And it was bad. You know what I mean?
It was like I watched it. I had never been there, but I always, because we would get WWOR up in Utica. Channel 9 is what it was, out of New York, or out of Secaucus, New Jersey. So we would get that, and we would get like all the local New York City commercials. And I would always see the ads for Action Park. And I remember asking my dad, "Dad, can we go there? Dad, can we go there?" And he was like, "No, no, no." And I never knew why. I always figured, oh, maybe just because we're too far away. But then I saw the documentary, and I was like, yeah, now I know why. Now I
Now I know
understand.
why my dad said no, right?
No,
No.
now I understand. Oh man, anybody watching, if you have never seen this documentary, you have to watch it. It's mind blowing. First of all, how long that place stayed open, and two, the fact that more people didn't die in that place.
They call it class action lawsuit park or whatever it
Oh yeah.
was. So yeah. So that was number 5 for me. We're going from the Gravitron
Mhm.
to the Incredible Universe.
The
You never heard of
Incredible.
this store?
No.
This was a chain, man.
The Incredible Wait a minute. Was this like one of those the stores where you could go in and get like the little like science kits?
No, this was like Costco, right?
Right.
Costco, you have to be a member to go
Sure.
to Costco. So for this place, I mean, the membership was free, but
Mhm.
the thing was you had to show your membership card, and then they let you inside. So, and then this was a huge department store of like
Okay.
TVs, toys, games, clothes, everything. And then you'd walk inside, they have like a giant, huge screen TV
Mhm.
as soon as you walk in. And when I mean giant, huge screen TV, I mean this was about like maybe 100 different TVs.
Wow.
As soon as you walked in, I'm like, this really is the Incredible Universe right here. And there were not too many of them though. They like to build maybe one in like each state. So there was like one in New Jersey, there was one in New York. You know what I mean? They didn't try to expand too much, but they were a company from Texas though. So
Oh,
and
okay.
then yeah, so and then they made so then that they for some reason they just went out of business, and I'm like, I really enjoyed that place, and it became
Yeah.
Target. So you know what I mean? But
Oh,
yeah,
those are the times, man. It happens.
Incredible Universe, one of my favorite places right there, growing up as a kid right there.
Right.
Yeah. So yeah. Number 4.
For me, number 4 are drive-ins.
Oh my God, dude. I remember drive-ins.
I remember, and I know people are out there are gonna say, "Oh, well, they're still around. There's still a couple here. There's still a couple there." I know here
It's
in
not
the
the
cat.
same.
No, it's not. And again, people are probably listening to me like I'm an old man shaking my fist at a cloud. But for me, the first movie I ever saw or that I remember seeing was E.T.
At the drive-in.
at the drive-in in the back of my parents' car, in the back window, back when it was safe to lay in the back window of a moving vehicle. Um, we laid in the back window and we watched E.T. immediately followed by The Dark Crystal.
Wow. What a double feature that was.
You want to talk nightmare fuel? I want to say maybe 6 or 7 years old when we went and saw The Dark Crystal. If you have never seen The Dark Crystal, I watch it as an adult and it still creeps me the hell out. If you've never seen The Dark Crystal, I mean, it's a Jim Henson movie. It's a great fantasy movie. And I just remember having nightmares for almost a year about the Skeksis, the bad guys and
Yeah.
that looked like decomposed turkeys or
They made
whatever
a
it was.
series.
What's that?
They made a series recently.
I know. I've started watching it. I haven't finished it though.
Yeah. So, but
And I
yeah,
really should.
yeah, Dark Crystal was creepy, man.
But it was just a different feel to it. Like you can go to the drive-in now and it's okay, it's fun, but I don't know, just something about it back then just was different. If the kids got bored, they could go play outside the car for a minute as long as mom and dad were watching, and you could set up lawn chairs and sit out there and watch, and now everybody's just kind of like in their car, just watching and eating whatever popcorn they had. And
Everyone's so sensitive today, but yeah, I remember the drive-ins back then, man. You know, the drive-ins, like you said, they're not too common anymore. You know, they used to be everywhere,
right.
everywhere. Every town had a drive-in,
Hmm.
but now, I guess because of weather permits and everything, I mean, Florida still has their fair share of drive-ins because
Right.
it's always great weather here, so
Right.
they're always open. You know what I mean? But
I mean,
places,
you remember living up here. I mean, really, you could only do those kind of things,
in summer.
uh, 3 or 4 months out of the year, late spring, and then into the summer, and then maybe a little bit into the fall if you had a warm autumn, and then, but then again, the cost of running those things is so high. I mean, it's yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I remember like watching driving movie. There was one right by my house, and that became a BJ's,
Oh,
a BJ's, and a movie theater, a regular movie theater. So
right.
that was a bummer right there for me, you know. But yeah, so number 4 for me, and this was the king of the electronic stores. I'm not talking PC Richards right now because that's still around. Yeah, PC Richards is still around.
If you say Crazy Eddie's,
Nobody beats the Wiz.
oh, the Whiz, the
Nobody beats the
Whiz.
Wiz. This was the king of the electronic, and they were so cheap back then too.
Yeah.
It's so affordable, and I think this was the reason why they were so good, because they were affordable and they stayed in business for a long time because they were so cheap.
Hmm.
You get TVs, you could get DVDs, everything for cheap. So Nobody
Yeah.
Beats the Wiz is probably, it's got to be up there as one place I really do miss. And
We
the
had,
advertisements for the Yankees, man. Remember, do do
oh
do
yeah,
do do.
oh yeah.
Yeah,
I mean, you go to the old Yankee Stadium, and what was it, like right center or left field or whatever? There was the giant Whiz, just in the middle, just a blue wall, and then a giant yellow Whiz.
that's iconic right there. But I hate to say it, and I hate to put a damper on this, but everybody beat the Wiz in the end,
Sad.
including Best
R.I.P.
Buy, including Best Buy in Circuit City.
Yeah, true.
Yes. So, but yeah, so that was my number 4 right there. So going on to number 3 now.
Number 3 for me. This was in my hometown, just outside of my hometown, a place called Scotty's. And what Scotty's was the place where you can go. Now they're called family fun centers,
Mhm.
where it had like the go-kart and the batting cages and the mini golf all in one spot. And it was outside. And again, it was structurally questionable. I'm sure probably a few safety violations came out of this place. OSHA probably had a field day with this place.
Oh my God.
The National Safety Council looked at this place and went, but as a kid, that was the spot to go to in the summer. You
Mhm.
could go, have a birthday party there. Even if it wasn't your birthday, you'd still go to a birthday party there. But you could go in and spend an entire day, do a few laps on the go-kart track, go hit some baseballs, hit some softballs in the batting cage, go play mini golf, go, over to the snack bar and get a questionable cheeseburger / hot dog, French fries, whatever it was you wanted. And you didn't care. You just lived life. You were just loving what you were doing and having a blast doing it.
Yeah. So for me, my number 3 has got to be the king of music. Well, before this is Sam Goody. Sam
Damn,
Goody.
you're bringing back the emotions. You're bringing back all the feels. I love it.
Sam Goody, man. I remember that Sam Goody was the best place to meet your favorite wrestlers right there.
Oh yeah.
They would always be signing at Sam Goody all the time. So they would always have these autograph signings. You don't see those too much common anymore. You don't see FYA doing those anymore, right?
The funny thing is, in Utica, the place for the wrestlers to go whenever they did their autographs and meet and greets was a Pizza Hut.
What?
Exactly. I remember when I was, I don't know, maybe in my early teens, and Razor Ramon had just hit the WWF. Had just hit the WWF, and he came to Utica. They were doing a show, and he came like a day or two early and did an autograph signing at Pizza Hut. And I remember going and there being a line out the door and down the street just to see Razor Ramon. Scott Hall, may he rest in peace, one of the greatest of all time, in my opinion. And I remember meeting him, and he was full character, oi Chico, and flipping his hair back with the flicking toothpicks at people left and right. He was sniping dudes in the back of Pizza Hut with a toothpick, like a ninja, just and just hitting dudes in the forehead. It was a great thing to see.
You don't see too much of that anymore. You see more of their sponsors getting a lot of the action, like the Cricket Wireless and all that stuff. You know what I mean? You don't see like an FYE get it, because FYEs, they're big and they could, because they're mostly in malls, so they will be able to accommodate people. But a Cricket Wireless, man, I don't think they could accommodate anybody. And I remember meeting John Cena at a Best Buy. This was when he first won the title.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so, and he was doing like a free autograph signing, so, which was pretty cool.
Could you see him though?
You couldn't see him, no, because the line was wrapped around the block. So
I don't care what anybody says. That joke is never going to get old.
Can't see him, but rumor is he's going to face Tanahashi next year at Wrestle Kingdom.
Ooh.
And this is a rumor, so don't quote me on it.
I didn't hear a thing.
All right, but yeah, so I met John Cena. This was when his album came out. Got an autograph from John Cena, so
I forgot about that, right? I forgot about the album. Oh my God. Actually, funny story. A guy that I went to high school with, played football with him at Springfield College in Massachusetts.
Yeah. That was the story?
Yeah, that's it. That's all I got. Sorry. That's all I got.
I thought you were going to elaborate on it.
That's my John Cena story. That's it.
That's great. So yeah, that's number 3 right there. Is Sam Goody. So we're going to go into number 2. We're going 42 minutes right now for number 2.
It's not bad. Not bad. Number 2 for me are the local swimming parks, the local swimming, like the neighborhood, like every neighborhood had like the neighborhood swimming pool is what I'm talking about.
I think they still have those.
So, yeah, a lot of them do. I know there's one here, because right now I live in Troy, right outside of Albany. And, there's one down the road, but it's been in disrepair for so long. A lot of towns have let them just kind of fall by the wayside, just, because they're expensive to upkeep. And, I remember as a kid, we used to, get on our bikes and just ride. And, my grandmother, because we would spend the summers with my grandmother, and she would give us, give us each $10, and we would ride out to the swimming pool, and we would just sit at the swimming pool all day, go to the little Quickie Mart across the street, get whatever snacks we wanted. You remember the hug jugs?
No, I don't.
Oh, you don't? The little drinks, like it was basically sugar, water, and food coloring, but it was in like a little plastic barrel. And it had a tin foil on the top, and you'd have to bite the tin foil with your teeth, which is not healthy. But then again, we drank from a garden hose back in the day. So, you would just go there and sit by the pool all day and just hang out with your friends. And you were just there. And it was, again, it was just pure. To me, it was pure fun.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, my number 2 right now has got to be Virgin Records. We talked about Tower Records. Now the Virgin Record store up in Times Square was probably one of the most iconic record stores you've ever seen, because that store had 2 floors, and then they had one in the Source Mall, which was 2 floors. So you don't see too many record stores having 2 floors, which was unbelievable. No, and that was another place that used to get a lot of celebrity signings right there. So Virgin Records, we miss you. That's another great one right there.
When I was in the Air Force, I was stationed in England for 3.5 years, and we would go into London a lot. And Virgin is a British company.
Yeah.
So they were all over the place. But like you said, you go to the bigger ones and they were 2 floors. There was one in a mall in Cambridge it was called the Virgin Super Center. So
Yeah.
you could go in there and you could get, your CDs, records, cassette tapes, whatever you wanted. And then on the other side of the store, you had t-shirts, posters, trinkets, little goofy tchotchkes or whatever it was for your favorite band. And, again, you could buy tickets in there. You had to go to the dodgy room in the back with the grumpy old guy that runs the store because he has to get up off his butt and actually go work or operate a computer. But yeah, I remember the Virgin Super. I remember the Virgin stores, definitely.
And that was also a store where they had a listening booth for every single new album that came out. And you would just sit there all day and say, yeah, I'm going to be listening to this one and not buy the CD and just go home.
Yep. And then tell your friends about it 10 minutes later. Hey,
we can listen to the new Pearl Jam album. Let's go down the road,
Funny story. That's actually when the first time I heard Pearl Jam 10 was at that store, the record shop, the Little Unicorn, because they had just gotten the listening booths, CD listening booths installed. And you could go in, and I remember this clear as day. You walk in and you sit in it looked like the old school phone booth, and you close the door behind you, put the headphones on, and they had 5 different CDs that you could choose from. And Pearl Jam 10 was one of them. And I just hit the button and I listened to the entire album. And to this day, it is one of my all-time favorite albums. And it's just, I remember that clear as day. And again, it's just something you have to experience to, because now you can just go on Apple Music, you pay $10.99 a month for the subscription, you can listen to whatever the hell you want. But, back then you had 5 CDs to choose from.
Yeah. Well, sorry, go ahead.
No, I was going to say, and it was always like a hip hop disc, a hip hop rap, R&B. For some reason, they would always have like Mozart in there. And like, just pop, New Kids on the Block or whatever. Again, kid of the 80s. And then, grunge alternative. And those were your choices.
Yeah, that and the new Linkin Park album, you can actually preview it at, I think, at a local record store, which is absolutely so cool.
Yeah.
Because there's not too many record stores around anymore. And the fact that they're doing a listening party for the new Linkin Park album, that brings back a lot of memories right there. So, yeah. So that's my number 2 right there. And
number 2.
Number 1, drum roll.
My number 1, there was a place in Utica, New York called Skaterama. And it was a roller skating rink.
You don't see those too much anymore either.
There's one here in Albany, and I haven't been to it. And the funny thing is, I've lived here in the capital region for almost 10 years now, and I have not been to this place. It's called Guptill's. And it's like a roller skating rink and an ice cream stand and like a little snack bar all in one, one complex, if you will. But this place, Skaterama, in Utica, was in West Utica, which is not the best part of town, but you didn't care. Mom or dad would drop you off on a Friday night, like 7:00. Again, give you like $10 and you go in there and you rent your skates and you go in there and you just skate around. And it wasn't a big place. It was small. The coolest part about this place was if you had your birthday party there, they had a little skate car. It was basically a go-kart with a very dodgy, like roller skate body on it. Again, it wouldn't pass any safety inspections nowadays. Like a safety inspector would just look at the place and go, no, and close the doors. But, again, a lot of folks listening, maybe they're having memories of a place like that when they were a kid. Maybe if you're a younger listener, you don't get it. It's like, and I'm not, belittling anybody in any way or demeaning anyone, but it's just places like that when I was a kid had a different feel to them. And it was like, you look at it today as an adult and you say to yourself, what in the hell were we thinking?
Yeah.
But back then, you didn't care because you were there with your friends and you were having a great time.
Everything's so laid back then. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah. So my number one for me would always have to be, drum roll please, Blockbuster Video.
Oh my God, Blockbuster. There's still one around.
There's still one around, but but they used to be everywhere. My God, man. Blockbuster. I remember this was back before when I used to go to Florida.
Mhm.
I had nothing. I used to stay at my grandparents' house. I'd be like, can we rent a PlayStation from Blockbuster? And you will be able to actually rent like a Nintendo or a PlayStation from Blockbuster. And then you'd get the game. So those days, man, you're never gonna get days like that again, man. Even that you could even rent a VHS player or DVD player from Blockbuster if you didn't have it. Blockbuster had almost everything if you didn't have it. So even if you were someone like me who loved to travel. So yeah.
I remember the first time I saw Monty Python and the Holy Grail was on a VHS rented from Blockbuster when I was younger, and my dad felt I was old enough to watch it.
That's awesome.
Different times, man. Different times.
Man, this has been a great top 10. I said we were going to go a half hour. We ended up going 51 minutes. You know what I mean? So Mike, what do you got coming up right now?
Well, I just finished my combat sports season. I was just down in Newburgh, New York for RFC Promotions. They held an amazing event. It was a great crowd, great lineup of fights. My year for combat sports is over. So now moving into college basketball.
Mm-hmm.
I'm announcing here in the capital region for UAlbany, the UAlbany Great Danes. This coming weekend, we're playing the Albany Cup. We're playing the Siena Saints crosstown rivalry. It's been a game that's been going on for a number of years. Again, one of the big events here in the capital region. I am the voice for that. But also coming up November 30th is game number 1 for the Albany Firewolves of the National Lacrosse League. If you have not seen box lacrosse, you need to watch it. It is freaking amazing. It is, they call it the fastest sport on 2 feet for only one reason, because it's very fast. It's very physical. If you like ice hockey and you like hitting people with sticks, you will love box lacrosse.
Yeah. So what I've got coming up, I got Wrestling Is Now presents Crown Heights, December 13th from Brooklyn, New York.
Look at that transition.
With Chavo Guerrero right there.
That is fantastic.
So that's on December 13th, live, Brooklyn, New York. And yeah, Chavo will be there. So if you don't have a reason to buy your tickets, that's a reason right there. Chavo Guerrero will be in the house right there.
Chavo's the reason, man. Chavo's the reason.
Chavo's a legend right there. So
he is.
You know what I mean? So, but yeah. So Mike, thank you so much for coming back on the podcast. I hope to have you on a future episode. And
sure.
And where can people find you on social media if they want to book you or anything?
You can find me on social media. I believe my social media handle is right there. At Mike A. Falvo. That'll link you to all my social media, Instagram, Twitter, or X, or whatever they're calling it this week. You can always find me on Facebook. If anybody, wants to get a hold of me, they can always shoot me a direct message, or you can email me. My email address is actually on those sites as well.
Yeah, Mike, thanks so much for coming on the podcast. We you know how we end the podcast. We end with a metal hand. It's like this, and we will see you guys in the next one.